So today I'm at Woolsthorpe Manor, and behind me is the very tree that Sir Isaac Newton sat under when the apple fell and he came up with the concept of gravity. So the variety of apple is called the Flower of Kent, and this is believed to be the exact same tree. At some point it fell over, rerooted itself, and is now believed to be around 370 years old. And isn't it amazing that we can still sit there today and enjoy its apples? Today I am visiting Woolsthorpe Manor, which is the childhood home of Sir Isaac Newton. So I definitely picked the right day because look, it's just totally empty. I've seen two other people here and so far I'm the only person that's turned up for the house tour as well. They have these apples here. You actually can get some of the apples from the orchard here and the pears. I'm definitely going to get some after the tour. So when visiting Woolsthorpe Manor, we actually had a really lovely house tour with a very knowledgeable lady who told us lots of history about the house and Sir Isaac Newton's life as well. This idyllic farmhouse is located in a small English village in Lincolnshire. It was the birthplace of the man whose ideas changed how we understand the universe itself. When Newton was sent home from university due to the plague, it was in this very garden and his childhood bedroom that Newton discovered and worked on the laws of motion and gravity, which would later go on to change how we understood the universe around us. Woolsthorpe Manor was built in 1623, 20 years before Newton's birth. It's a modest yeoman's farmhouse that was built for hard-working landowners. They actually kept sheep on the farm back in the days when wool was used for most clothing. So the more sheep you had, the more money you made. So here we are at the front of the building, and as we walk through the door, you can just about see the coat of arms there above the door, which looks like two sheep bones crossing. This was actually Sir Isaac's very own coat of arms. He was knighted by Queen Anne in 1705, and as a result, he was allowed to adopt a coat of arms. He had a distant relative who was a baronet, and she already had a coat of arms, so he was allowed to use it. We actually don't really know what it means to this day. He also adopted a Latin motto to go with it, Memento Mori, which is Latin for remember that you will die. Another thing to note about the front door is just how small it is. The idea is that you can't come in with a raised sword. This is called the Great Room, and it would have been the heart of the home. It was here that Newton's family ate, worked and gathered. Young Isaac would have spent hours here, often alone, building models and mechanical toys instead of playing with other children. Up to 50 people were known to live in these houses at any time, and they were often paid with food and ale. You couldn't actually drink the water, so you can imagine how drunk people probably got. So each worker had their own spoon, and back in these days they were very superstitious, and these spoons actually had to be turned down, as if a spoon was turned up, it was thought that the devil could sit in it. Another interesting fact about this dining area is the plates that the workers ate off. So the junior workers would actually eat off wooden plates and drink from cow horn bowls, whereas the senior workers weren't so lucky in hindsight because they ate off pewter plates, which you would never want to eat off today as they are made with around 20% lead. Newton was born in this house on Christmas Day of 1643. He was very premature, small, and wasn't actually expected to survive. However, not only did he survive, but he went on to live to the grand age of 84. And he actually died with all of his original teeth, apart from one. There were quite a lot of wall etchings in this house, and it's believed that at this time it was relatively common to draw on your walls because paper was so expensive. Newton showed intense curiosity from a young age, building water clocks, windmills and intricate models using scraps of wood. He is said to have watched closely while a post mill was constructed nearby, and then he made this small working model that was operated by a mouse.
Not only did he make the thing, he made the tools to make the thing. And he got a wheel, and he put a wheel inside it. And then he went out into the field, and he got the first poor little unfortunate mouse he could find and put it in there, and then the mouse runs round and the sails go round. But it's possibly that they were done like that because rats and mice cannot climb upside down. The windows or the doors, that would keep other witches away. They could go and annoy somebody else.
At 12 years old, Isaac was sent to the King's School, which was a weekly boarding grammar school in nearby Grantham. He paid more attention, however, to creating clever mechanical devices than to his textbook, and his skill in making and testing models flourished as a child. At the age of 17, his mother Hannah decided it was time for Isaac to come home and run the estate at Woolsthorpe. Isaac, however, was totally unsuited to being a farmer, and after a disastrous 9 months, it was decided that he should continue his education. To Newton's excitement, he was sent back to school, and it was here that he acquired the mathematical skill and additional knowledge needed for his entry to Cambridge University. The 18-year-old Newton left rural Lincolnshire for the first time to study at Trinity College in Cambridge in June 1661. This was just 1 year after the restoration of the monastery, which ushered in a new era of investment in science and discovery. Newton's bedroom is perhaps the most important room in this house. In 1665, Newton returned here from Cambridge after the university closed due to the Great Plague. For 18 months, Newton returned to his childhood home where he worked in solitude, experimenting obsessively and laying the foundations for the science of today. This time is often referred to as his Annus Mirabilis, or Year of Wonders. From this small bedroom, Newton discovered the foundations of calculus, the theory of optics, the laws of motion, and the early ideas of gravity. Newton refers to this period as, "For in those days I was in the prime of my age for invention and minded mathematics and philosophy, more than at any time since." As you can see from this loaded desk with papers, Newton worked obsessively whilst he was here. He wrote thousands of pages, much of which was never published. After the Great Plague, Newton returned from Woolsthorpe to university at Cambridge, and 6 months later he was elected as Minor Fellow of Trinity College. 2 years after that, he was made professor. He went on to become Lucasian Professor at Cambridge, President of the Royal Society, Master of the Royal Mint, and was eventually knighted by Queen Anne. He wrote Principia Mathematica, which was widely regarded as the most important scientific book ever written. But Newton never forgot his roots at Woolsthorpe. The ceilings and doorways in a lot of these old buildings were very low. At 5'8", I had to duck to get under this one. It remains unknown how often Newton returned to Woolsthorpe Manor from both Cambridge and then London, but we do know that he continued to take an interest in the manor. He visited in 1679, and then, as some of his correspondence shows, again in the 1680s. On his death in 1727, Newton had not had any of his own children, and he had never married. Woolsthorpe was inherited by John Newton, his uncle's great-grandson. However, John Newton squandered his inheritance by cockfighting, horse racing, and drinking. He was forced to sell the manor to Thomas Alcock, who in turn sold it in 1733 to a local landowner called Edmund Turner for the sum of £1,600. Turner leased the farm to a family named Woollthorpe, who were tenants for the next 200 years. Alterations were made to the house in the 18th and 19th centuries. In 1942, the manor was purchased by the Royal Society with the assistance of the Pilgrim Trust, who then gave it to the National Trust for Preservation. The trust has restored areas of the house to become more like how it would have been when Newton lived there. There's also a science centre on the property, which we're going to go and visit in a minute. Life at Woolsthorpe wasn't glamorous. Woolsthorpe was a working farm and the kitchen was meant to be practical, cooking simple meals, preserving food and heating the home. Newton himself often forgot to eat when he was absorbed in thought. He lived in his mind more than he lived in the physical world. Yet it was this ordinary setting that allowed him to observe nature so closely. The light through the windows, the shadows, motion and time. For Isaac, science wasn't separate to life. It was life. It was in these intense periods at Woolsthorpe that Newton was free from the restrictions of the limited curriculum and rigours of university life. He had both time and space to develop his theories on calculus, optics and the laws of motion and gravity. There was a mini exhibition in the house which had a couple of little experiments. It had the books that Sir Isaac Newton wrote in his lifetime, and it also had this map with all the locations of the apple pips that went into space. In 2015, astronaut Tim Peake went up to the space station and he took with him 30 of the pips from the Sir Isaac Newton apple tree to see how they would respond to cosmic rays. These pips travelled 70 million miles and came back down to Earth. 12 of these pips germinated, and the trees have been spread all over the world in these various locations. So they did also have one of these little saplings at Woolsthorpe, but unfortunately it really struggled and it's currently being nurtured in the hope that it will be returned in 2026. Apparently every time it grows a new leaf, they send a photo back to Woolsthorpe and let them all know. So the soil at Woolsthorpe is actually quite contaminated with mercury. They also had a lock of Sir Isaac Newton's hair, and it showed to have 40 times the level of mercury than was normal. This is likely to have been from all the experiments that Sir Isaac Newton ran while he lived at Woolsthorpe Manor, before people knew how dangerous mercury was. It obviously didn't really affect him though, as he lived to the ripe old age of 84. Just outside the manor stands one of the most famous trees in history, the famous apple tree from which the apple fell and got Newton thinking about gravity. And you can actually eat these apples today. They put some baskets in the front and you can also pick them off the ground if there's any that have fallen. According to Newton's own account, he observed an apple falling and wondered, why does it fall straight down and not sideways? This simple observation led to the idea that the same force pulling the apple down also governs the motion of the moon and the planets. In the early 19th century, the tree was hit by a huge storm and a lot of it died away. Believe it or not, people have not changed much because the people who lived there at the time collected all the dead wood and made trinkets of them and sold them, saying they were from the tree of Sir Isaac Newton. Eventually, though, the tree did regrow and is still looking pretty healthy and lush today. The variety of apple is called the Flower of Kent, and I was actually super impressed. They looked a little bit gnarly, so I was expecting them to be a bit more cooking apple-esque, but they were actually very sweet and tasty. So the apple tree really made this property, in my opinion. It was a lot of fun hanging out in the garden, and I got chatting with some other people that were visiting and they helped me take some pictures. Oh, hello, little one. This is wild. Look how many pears there are. I did find a few on the floor before that were good, but a lot of them are definitely for the wildlife now. What about this one? Woohoo! I tell you what, these pears are so good. They're so sweet. They're just so sweet and juicy. So one of the guys actually gave me an apple from the Sir Isaac Newton tree, and I'm hoping I'm going to become a lot brainier when I eat this, and it holds the secrets to the universe. Like all the National Trust properties, Woolsthorpe has its own cafe. I really like the cafe area. I thought it was very cute. I like this library area upstairs. They even had some wool and some games. The only thing I will say against this cafe is I did get given my coffee in a kind of plastic beaker. And call me old school and old fashioned if you like, but I do like my coffee out of a proper nice cup and saucer. It always gets some extra points. I also had one of these apricot flapjacks. I think they're probably the most healthy thing that you can get at the National Trust. Cheers. So they had a science centre on site, which would be absolutely fantastic for kids that are into science experiments, and also great for adults like me that behave like big children. So they had lots of different experiments that you could play around with here, and there was a volunteer on hand, and he was very chatty and talked me through all of the experiments.
Those do you think will drop off first?
Sorry, what were the 6 planets?
Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn.
I guess Pluto was too far out, right?
Well, they hadn't discovered the other stem. So Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, they didn't know about. But you can see us.
Oh my god. That experiment was to show how planets move faster as they get closer to the sun. Oh.
It's actually, if it's, you never look up enough. Then you miss something, So by doing it this way, I get home and I say, I might. This is a camera, and it was a drone camera, and it took everything down there and it flew around. But then I said, what if we had? It was such a successful net anyway. And they I don't know if they destroyed it. Had to do some reading of it. But it's kind of an iffy one. But it's like they closed the door 200 years ago. It's not like one of the ones that
This one was basically air hockey. I actually had no idea what I was doing on this one, to be honest. This one shows that when a coloured wheel spins fast enough, it all eventually just becomes one colour. I don't know if you will fully get the effect because my phone doesn't pick up the frame rate perfectly, but it did all go white eventually.
Through a solar prism.
Yeah.
So that's
That's it there. Yeah.
so you see red, orange, yellow, green. Blue will go violet.
Yeah.
I'm never too sure about the blue in which
Right, right.
This one's quite nice. So yeah, you've got all the different colours.
Yeah.
But you can actually
That's what it was used.
yes, it's
Right.
white, all the different colours and bring it back to white.
Yeah.
So you say pure white, but white is the least pure colour. It's
Yeah.
all the others.
Yeah.
It's mixed, yeah.
But I don't think we're going to stop people saying pure white, are we?
Yeah. Well, unless you're
So
painting
this
and
is-
decorating, this is different. Pure.
Different schools. We've had grammar school. We've had French.
You went to places like this because if they were here in special schools or on a school trip from abroad, put some schoolwork in them, curriculum in it as well.
Yeah.
Did you
Probably wasn't very far.
Yeah.
We all thought that was great.
Yes, you did, yeah. You sit there, second, third time, you're there. Yeah. And then you come home, sit there.
Oh yes,
I got it now.
you did.
Eye out.
Ah,
So as
yeah.
you go up, it breaks.
Ah.
Then if you go up two
Oh,
or three
that's-
times.
Yeah, I
you-
sort
you
of did
make
it
down.
multiple times and
And it goes-
eventually...
Yeah, so what you're doing is dampening the
Oh,
side
doesn't that
rods.
come out well?
Oh, it is coming out.
Isn't it?
Mm.
Oh, wow, look at that at the top. Do you see
Yeah.
that?
So, should I?
Oh, yeah, go.
Oh yes.
Oh,
Just like a
do that
little
again. Wow. That's so cool.
And actually,
Oh, look at the colours
when you
now.
finish with that,
Look at that.
oh, have you got more?
Now, as an artist, I know all about black and the different levels of black. And there is a paint that claims to be the blackest black that there is. But yeah, black is not a simple shade. You can definitely have different ranges and shapes of black. I assume Vanta Black is the blackest black.
See,
Oh, right.
that's picking up the colours.
That's picking up the colours, yeah.
Oh, I saw yellow for a minute there.
Oh yeah, will do.
Yeah, I definitely saw yellow.
So there. So when you get a similar level of green and blue, you see cyan. When you get a similar level of red and blue, you see magenta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you see similar level of all of them, you see white. So those two gave you magenta, those two gave you cyan. So these two give you your yellow. So you don't have a yellow sensor.
Thinking the white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that's cyan and that one's magenta. Which are the colours you have on?
Yes, yes, it did, yeah. But they'll become, I don't know, the kids have these things to put on their, no, they can do similar. Don't quite know how it all works, but, yeah,
No, that was just
Yeah.
like it was a super.
yeah. That is- Yeah, but you could, well, say go back in the day, but you could go to see concerts and you could go to see things.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Are you familiar with the Le Mans 24 hours? There's no point listening.
No, you don't. No.
Poor though.
Yeah, you can get it to. That one makes it diverge.
Oh yeah, it's like a zip. Oh yeah. From an early age, Newton's life was marked by fragility and isolation, and this shaped Newton's temperament as a solitary, observant, and deeply irrespective child. This was the start that would probably later give him the perfect environment for revolutionary thinking. So before I left, I came back to get some apples and pears. You can get a really big bag of them for £4. And these will be absolutely perfect for juicing. So overall, I had a fantastic day at Woolsthorpe Manor. I really recommend this place. It's a really cute little National Trust property. It's not one of the bigger ones, but I felt like there was lots to do and I was kept very entertained for the entire time.
Monday? No, I'm on leave, aren't I? Okay.
So I've got my massive bag of apples and I'll be looking forward to eating and juicing with these. They're so heavy I can barely lift them. Good value.